All right. I'm really just testing this out. If the audio is working, then I'll continue and I'll draw a drawing and talk about this comic book series that I wanted to talk about, and figured I would just it's about Superman and Lois Lane, so so I'll be drawing them, and we'll see how that goes. But first things first, if there's anybody out there, let me go ahead and put in. Sorry for the keyboard sounds. Can you hear me? So, um, there we go. I guess I could play it on my end here. But see if I hear anything. Okay, I do hear it. All right, so I'm assuming everybody can hear me if you're here to watch this. The reason being is earlier I came into Pat's show and I was having problems the night before where it kept booting me out on the EV Mux platform. Of course, I mostly go back to the Rumble Studio, but I had set this up and I was having problems with it. Primarily the audio, it would just stop my audio. I worked on it, tested it, and then I tried it with Chrome, and then I used the link for Pat's studio, and I was actually back in his studio, but I don't know if he could see me or anything because there was no reaction to it. So I was going to see if I could be heard, by the audience and on his, and then that would be good enough. But I didn't get to, and I don't know if it worked or not. I mean, even the times when the audio went out, uh, it indicates that the mic's working. It doesn't say there's a problem or anything like that. Uh, so it's like you don't know until someone says, "Hey, we can't hear you" or whatever. And so I was like, "Oh, damn it! Now what?" On top of all of that, I do have these ailments, and my leg did one of its thing with this shooting pain, and I just had to leave. Pat's. Well, the second time I left earlier because the audio went out. No one could hear. They could hear me. He and Tass, in the well, the what do you call it? The platform background, whatever. And but the audience could not. And so I'm like, oh well, it's not working, But then I'm like, well, you can't. I got to figure this out, and did a lot of that. So I guess it works by Chrome, but and I texted him that, and he said, "Oh yeah, I always use Chrome." And I said, "Yeah, but I mean, I just did it to see what would happen because I've done this before when I had troubles with this, and it didn't make any difference that time around. So appears to work at least through my own. I mean, it's been a bizarre week. It started off with X and Rumble both got hit by cyber attacks and all that sort of thing, and I thought, well, maybe it's more of the same thing. But the audio still worked on the night before on Pat's show, but it kept booting me out. I mean, it's like the whole thing would refresh on its own, and then I would pop in and out and pop in and out. I was like, so I don't know what that was about. So I thought I should. So I guess we'll go with jump to Chrome for the use of the EV Mux platform, but that's no guarantee. So I guess that's what I'll do. It's been working fine the way I've been doing it for weeks, and then all of a sudden this. So hopefully this goes to show it's the solution to the problemo, you know. So here I am. A. Thompson says, Doug, up early or late? Oh, it's always late for me at this hour. Says, I can hear you. Okay, good. Good. So, what I'm going to do, as I said, this will be a image of, just a basic sort of portrait of Superman and Lois. And the reason why, and was going over different after I was doing the story of Green Goblin, and then now I've started the Hobgoblin story and all that, and I thought about other comic book stories that that I thought were pretty cool, and for whatever reason, I don't know, I was just going over old ones, and lately looking up other issues I didn't have originally. I got these old copies, but it's like the follow up issue or the one before is like, maybe I should look that up. And sure enough, a lot of them readily available, back issues and whatnot. And so that was fun and all that. But there was one particular series that, for whatever reason, I started thinking about. Was a title, and I've already done this. There was some of the science fiction titles that DC Comics released in the late 70s, and some made it into the early 80s. But anyway, there was this initiative they did, and they called it the DC Explosion. Well, it exploded, and then it burned out. So the idea is they were going to go big, and they introduced a bunch of titles. And almost all of them ended up being canceled or scaled back and this sort of thing. So eventually, one of the titles, which I believe was actually born out of either the Jimmy Olsen series or Lois Lane, or maybe both folded into it. I don't know, because the numbering was pretty high for a title that really didn't last that long. So it was one or the other that had already built up quite, a run. And it was all folded into this anthology series called Superman Family. They did the same thing with Batman, so you had the Batman family titles and stuff like that. So they did that, and so there were several recurring stories in that one as this anthology series. And I guess they folded the Supergirl series into it as well, because she was kind of the main feature. Like the first story you would get would be a Supergirl story. And but there were these others, and some of them were kind of rather bland. The Private Life of Clark Kent. I mean, some of it would kind of become a Superman story, but mostly it was Clark Kent, hearing someone's sad story and, gee, I wonder if I could help them out. And so he would kind of vaguely use his Superman powers to help him and all that. But anyway, and then the other two was Lois Lane and then Jimmy Olsen, and they were always reporting on some story that would get them in trouble and this sort of thing, and ultimately would have to figure out on their own how to survive it and that sort of thing. A couple of them were sort of okay, but not much. The only other superhero offering, I seem to recall they did have like Superboy or something, or Super Baby, and but the other one was a series called Mr. and Mrs. Superman. And these were in the days where, it's always teased about the romance of Lois and Superman, and say, hey, ultimately one day they're gonna get married and be together and all that. But you keep them perpetually young, and the soap opera never ends, and blah blah blah. Um, but they did have this other universe of Superman. So what they did about late 50s, early 60s is when they did a revamp of their characters. Uh, and even though the likes of Batman and Superman remain pretty much the same, um, the rest of the line was very different. The Flash and Green Lantern were very different, and all this stuff. Um, but ultimately, the explanation for it came that the original superheroes, the original Superman that came out of Action Comics 1 and was, you know, around during World War II and all that. Well, that was another planet here. Now, in the multiverse, a parallel Earth is now where the current Superman stories are and all that. So he'd show up here and there, and they would do these crossovers with like the Justice League and the Justice Society, which was, the original uh, team of superheroes and all that, and that sort of thing. And they were just older at the time. They weren't all that much older, but as years went on, it seems the mainline superheroes didn't age, but the the ones who could say, "Hey, I was in the war," so obviously you would be older, even certainly into the 80s and whatnot. So anyway, Superman Family featured a story of the married Lois and Superman without having to actually make that the main continuity of their regular Superman uh, title. And so that's pretty much how they dealt with it. So you could pretty much keep the story templates and the will they or won't they type approach to these, romantic couples, or at least the suggestion of romance, as it were, within the narrative of the story and all that. Whereas this version, well, they got married, so it was set in this version. A lot of times when you saw the original Superman crossing over with the current one and the Justice Society, Justice League crossovers and stuff like that, he was always depicted as a much older man. He had graying hair and stuff like that, and some slight differences to the outfit, and and that's how they handled it. But when it came to this title, it was a little odd. It was a little different, uh, and I have to conclude it was done on purpose, so as to make sure, despite all their narration and editorial notes and whatnot, to tell you this is the Superman of Earth 2, which was another weird thing. It seems like the original Superman would be on the Earth 1, but that's how they did it. But the main thing was it would be set in the 50s. He was the editor in chief of the Daily Star. Now, in the original uh, Superman stories of the 40s, or the late 30s into the 40s, he did not work at the Daily Planet. They got there eventually, probably a lot sooner than most would recall, and I certainly don't at the moment. But I think there was a story where he and Lois went on some, some job they had to do for the paper in a foreign country or something like that. And when they came back, it was just called the Daily Planet. But originally, it was called the Daily Star. And their editor, or publisher, editor, well, editor in chief, was a man named George Taylor, not Perry White. When they did the story where they came back and it was Daily Planet, it was Perry White, and George Taylor was just forgotten about. I think a couple of times in some of the Superman comics, they would mention that the Daily Star was like a competing paper, and Perry White said, "Oh, that rag," and all this stuff. And I don't know, maybe even like Jimmy Olsen got fired once and went to work for Daily Star for a while or something like that. I can't remember. But that's what it was relegated to when you, in the original timeline, the golden age, as they would refer to it, Daily Star was the paper. So with the Superman family anthology version of this story, it covered a lot more ground than the rest of the stories would do because they just didn't have time to deal with all of that. And so Clark Kent is no longer a reporter. He's the editor in chief. Lois Lane's still a reporter, but she's also his wife now. And I think, yeah, there was a Jimmy, I think. And eventually they did do a story where Perry White does show up, but he's a much younger man, and he's just a reporter working for Clark Kent. So it was like the opposite of what they had there. But as the editor or whatnot, he could just sort of stay in his office, and most of the staff left him alone and ignored him. So more times than not, he wasn't in there because he flew off as Superman to go deal with stuff. And then Lois, as his wife, she ran cover for him. And people, hey, where's Clark? Oh, he's a little busy. I'll help you, that kind of thing. And that's how that unfolded. But for the main thing was the look, and so his outfit was pretty much top to bottom the same one. But they did this design with the S, and it's very bizarre. In other iterations of the Earth 2 Superman, it was still kind of a bit more, I guess, bulky in some ways, but it looked very recognizable as the same thing. But you had your main Superman in the main Superman titles, who was the younger Superman. And so, of course, he would have the main logo of the Superman S, and that's how they would do it. But even early on there, at this time for, these Earth 2 stories, when it featured the likes of Superman, the Green Lantern, and of course, Dr. Fate and characters like that, uh, I don't think they had. I mean, maybe they did introduce a Dr. Fate in the proper universe, but I think every time it mostly went with the original Earth 1 Dr. Fate. But anyway, you had these characters who didn't have a new version of them for the new line that they introduced in the early 60s or late 50s, rather. And so it wasn't that complicated. But when it was Superman, it was somewhat confusing, or the fear was that it was confusing. It was never confusing to me as a kid reading these. But I guess they thought it could be a problem. So just stylistically to say, well, make his S symbol a little different. And here you got the basic shape, but it's like it's really exaggerated to where the swirl of his S goes. And I don't know if they ever bothered to establish that he even knew he was from Krypton in that version or not. I think, eventually, yes, but as all the details and since then about the super suit and why he would wear it. One idea I always thought they could say, well, he based it off of the logo of the Smallville town or something, and that's why he had the S on his shirt. But ultimately they went through, well, it looks like an S to us, but it's an alien symbol or, a crest of the Jor-El family and stuff like that. And that's what they went with. But what have you, wanted it to have a distinctive look that differentiated it from their Superman proper. And so, well, it does it. I think a lot of it, others were closer to the regular one. It's just these little marks at the end. It doesn't go into this little dot shape that Superman typically had in his symbol there. And then they just exaggerated this big, detail as the S at the top there. And then, but in Mr. and Mrs. Superman, that tail, it did have this cutoff here, whereas for the most part it comes to a point, but they for Mr. and Mrs. Superman, they not get rid of that. So I guess the idea would be, even though they would have Earth 2 Superman meet the Earth 1 Superman, and their suits pretty much look the same. You just say, well, he changed it later, I guess. I don't know. But for the most part, some of the stories were rather lighthearted and whatnot, but eventually they did get to, some superhero action stories and adventure that concerned Superman. And of course, elements involved in it would have Lois play a role in it as well. A lot of it, gee, I hope he's going to be okay, and all that type of stuff. But eventually they got into some aspects that were kind of interesting, and how, you had to play it differently than the main story, because they'd given all that to their main Superman, of course. And one of the things was they wrote in Lana Lang into the story. Now, for the original Superman, they established, and it was probably for the best not to have done it at all, but for the main Superman, was that there was no Superboy. And the Superboy idea, they did it so that no one else could make up a comic book character called Superboy, so that they could trademark it and all that. But the whole thing was rather stupid. It's like it undoes the Superman story, because when he makes his big debut as Superman, it's just like, oh, look, it's Superboy. He's all grown up. That's it. And no one's amazed at the sudden appearance of Superman, because they've been living with him being in the news for quite some time. So it was all kind of stupid. Eventually, they did. Man, his smile looks evil. They did. Probably the better take on it was that Superboy was taken to the future by the Legion of Superheroes, and he had some adventures there in the distant future. And of course, this inspired him about who he would become when he grew up, so that it had no real impact on the history of the character in his normal time. So anyway, the original Golden Age Superman, of course, did not have a Superboy story. So he didn't meet the characters of Smallville that Superboy had, where they decided, oh, he hasn't met Lois Lane yet, so we'll give him a different girlfriend. So Lana Lang, what are the odds the alliteration would be with the same letter? So that's where Lana came from. And for the most part, most iterations of Superman, they just keep it like that. It's like, well, you had a girlfriend in school, but he moved on. I mean, I guess Lana was just too nice of a girl, because Superman really likes he likes bitches like Lois Lane. He's really, rather snotty to him. It's like, you gotta wonder, I mean, eventually she matures and is a caring wife and all that for him. But anyway, um, that's usually how that goes. So for Mr. and Mrs. Superman, they did introduce Lana Lang, and Lois was jealous of her and all this, because here she comes, who's this cute redhead and all that. But they did it to where she unwittingly became a supervillain as the Insect Queen. Because as it turns out, there's a story where her father was an archaeologist. So, of course, he brought back this ancient Egyptian scarab and gave it to her as a brooch, and she wore it. Said, "Oh, this is lovely," but it had mystical powers to control insects. And apparently, like in ancient times, this mystical pharaoh or a wizard gave it to him or whatever, and he used it to direct a swarm of locusts to fly away or go drown themselves in the Nile or something like that, so that they wouldn't destroy all the crops, that sort of thing. So she had it, and but somehow there was a mystery as to why it was activated, and of course you find out in the story. But apparently it brought her a costume and everything. It was a bit odd that the bugs had that. Of course, ultimately it was a plot by the Ultra Humanite. That's right, I forgot. Now the Ultra Humanite, most people don't know, but before Lex Luthor, not long before him, but really the first supervillain that Superman went up against was a man called the Ultra Humanite, and he was a super genius and all this sort of thing. But he was very old, and after his first encounter with Superman, he was so badly injured or whatnot that he was going to die if he didn't, get a new body. Well, he's a super genius, so he could. Oddly enough, the first body that he chose was the body of a female movie star. So his brain was transplanted into a woman's body, ostensibly because, well, she was really rich and I needed the finances. so, so he was a woman for a while. Typically, after that, he had his brain transplanted into a white gorilla, um, and was pretty much stuck there ever since for most of the depictions of him, which they would later do. And I mean, he had extra strength and stuff because he had that gorilla strength. But in the stories of Mr. and Mrs. Superman, we learned that at one time he had his brain transplanted into the body of a giant flying ant. Now, the ant was given, had his size increased as a result of the insect queen's power. So when Lana Lang got those powers, she could make the swarm of bugs grow very large and large enough for her to ride on one as it flew around the city. And of course, they were much bigger, so their stingers really hurt Superman. He was like, "Ow, ow," and so I forget the whole story. I'll have to read I'll do an overview of the stories when I get time to do it. Um, but I am forgetting exactly how Ultra Humanite got into it and all that. But he wanted that ant so he could be an ant. He was tired of being a female movie star. So yeah, they show the procedure. He goes in there, and then he's able to mind control Lana and make her attack Superman. And of course, Superman ultimately wins and all that. But for a brief moment, that was another iteration of the Ultra Humanite, and they referred to him as Ultra Ant. Yeah, because he was an ant, and his name was Ultra. So that was one of the things they did. There were other, but it was instead of just being the rather bland and boring stories of like private life of Clark Kent, they actually did some superheroes and supervillainy and all that sort of stuff. Uh, Despite him getting on in years and settling down and what have you. I I think before they did the crisis and pretty much did away with everything developed there, that uh, Lana became the insect queen a couple of more times or something like that. Um, so anyway, the whole idea of making his look differ was to, of course, make it visibly obvious he was not the same Superman. But eventually they decided, well, that's not good enough. For Batman, they wouldn't use the yellow oval symbol for him with his bat. They just went to the original where it was just a bat on his chest, and I guess they thought that was sufficient enough. And eventually they killed him off. The original Batman died in the Earth 2 iteration. But eventually they said, oh, we're getting complaints, and they were really concerned about the complex and difficult continuity, which is nothing compared to now, and decided to do their Crisis on Infinite Earth series, which was fun. And it was quite an achievement on their part, and only George Perez could have done it with his artistic abilities to cram that much story in only 12 issues and all those characters. But the problem is, though, it did a lot of damage to their setup, and they never really, in my opinion, recovered from it, and couldn't come up with something to replace it. Because you end up with the same problem. You've got iterations of characters that you want to remain control of, but now what do? Their original stories won't work the way you had it, so you basically had a Justice Society that never had a Superman and Batman in it and all that type of stuff, and that was just one of the minor things. Then you had a Green Lantern who had nothing to do with the Green Lantern Corps. Establishes like, well, what are the odds? So you got to rewrite everything over and over again. It was better off just where it was. I mean, it was just a simple thing, and they only ever really did like two other parallel Earths. You had Earth 2, and they would do these crossovers in their Justice League annuals and that sort of thing, and that's pretty much, for the most part, all they ever did with it. And then you had, of course, Earth 3, where you had evil versions of the Justice League characters and that sort of thing. And that was about it. Oddly enough, they expanded so much more after they had supposedly killed the multiverse than they did when they had the multiverse. So then the Elseworld stories and all that, and that just goes on and on and on. Yeah. So I don't think it was necessary for them to have done what they did with Crisis. I mean, story wise, it's fine. It was a lot of fun. But to end the multiverse aspect, even if the point was to start over with the number, which was the original plan, was they would just, everything would start over. That, I can understand that to a point. But ultimately, they find out that, oh, there's another world and all that. And it's something you only do once in a while, not all the time. But to have a separate line of a different iteration of the character, and provided it sells. If it doesn't sell, well, then you just cancel the book. It doesn't have to be this big headache, But I don't know. That's what they did. But Mr. and Mrs. Superman was an interesting take in that it was its own ongoing narrative in serial, whereas other appearances of Golden Age Superman was, he was just some guest star, typically in Superman or stories that involved the Justice Society, or when they were introducing Power Girl, which is his Supergirl, and stuff like that. But that was about it. Whereas here, he was still somewhat older than the stories you typically see of Superman, but still kind of in his prime as far as power goes, and his adventures. So, I'll take a look at that. Now, I was looking up stuff about it, and there's not a lot. A lot of times there's different people had different comic book blogs, and they'll go into great depth about things. But there was only like one or two that I found talking about it. And at the very least, I did agree with their assessment that this was a series of stories they should collect in a book, you know, because there's enough there to make one, just of all the Mr. and Mrs. Superman stories. But if there's not enough interest in it, you're not going to take on the risk of printing it. But for a while there, DC would print just damn near everything. But I guess those days are gone. So it would have been nice to, you know, have the full series of those uh, stories from Superman family and have it in its own thing. But probably will never happen. So it's back issues or nothing. So there we have it. Uh, and since I missed on Wednesday yet again, this will have to be the entry for Thursday comics. Now, and it does happen from time to time. There was no way I was going to save this for Sunday comics, and there might not be a Sunday comics. I mean, I say that there might be, but I don't know. I've got a 5 night in a row tour of duty coming up. I got to make up for the hours I lost due to the flu, but also the other night guy is going on his vacation, and so I'm going to pick up a couple of his days. But because I'm a sickly old man, I will suffer for it. So uh, maybe I can, but I think if I just put one out, and it'd probably be mostly these live streams from me that are at best an hour long. And if I'm up to it to draw and whatnot, I could do that. But as far as uh, doing late night shows and stuff, not Tuesday and Monday night. That's not happening. Uh, I shall be elsewhere. You know, no mystery. I'll be at work, but you know, it's one of those things. You know, geez, the leg is acting up again. Ugh. Looks like I don't know if I'll get a chance to put this in the photo shop. Um, mm, it's not even 7 o'clock yet. So. Man, is it killing me. Good Lord. But, you know, where would the fun be if you didn't hear me complain about my aches and pains? You know? Where would the fun be? Well, nowhere. It's all a part of the adventure. The adventure of life. I don't know, man. They're both looking evil now. Gee, I really kind of screwed this up. I mean, Lois is, it was like, I put too much eyelash on there or whatever. But now it's like she's got black eyes, you know, and Superman's like, yeah, ha, 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 ha. Well, whatever. I did the best I could, which, you know, wasn't very good. But basically, that is the weird design of his Super S. I don't know. But it does look different, you know? And it looks more like an alien symbol, you know? So I guess mission accomplished on that. All right. Hey, Thompson, can you draw a car? Not very well, but I've done it. Yeah. I mean, when I have templates and stuff and I'll stare at it, but even that, it's like the ass of the car looks all wonky and weird and doesn't fit. And I'm like, damn it. Then other parts. And of course, you know, I'll draw up a car. And then what kind of car is that? I don't know. It doesn't look like any model that's been made or anything. But usually I keep those in the background. You know. Hey, Thompson, did you watch Bob Ross as a child? A couple of times, you know, when I needed a nap. He was good at that. You know, you would fall asleep. And I put this little happy tree right there. Little Happy Tree. Next thing I knew, it was, I don't know, some other show. Hey, Thompson. Doug, have you seen the Thai movie titled The Medium? No, I have not. I have not seen any movie called Medium, nor have I ever bothered to watch. Wasn't there a TV series called The Medium? What was that, the one with Patricia Arquette? I think. Anyway, A. Thompson says, I'm trying to find the old movie Silver Bullet about the kid in the wheelchair trying to kill the priest werewolf. Was he a priest? I thought he was just some a-hole, hitting on the kid's mom in the trailer house. I mean, it's been a long time. I mean, is that one of those movies that they didn't ever surely it was on DVD at one time. I don't know. I do remember the creepy scene where he killed their dog and then, like, I guess pissed all over the yard so that he could mark the territory as his or something like that. I think that was Silver Bullet. Maybe I'm confusing it with another one, but anyway, 8,000. Hey, Doug, can you draw Stealth Chaos? Turn him into a superhero. I suppose, but I just don't know what he looks like. Hey, Thompson. Hey, Doug. Oh, same one. Hey, Thompson, you can see what he looks like on Povo's Clown Town. Yeah, well, I probably won't be able to watch it unless I can catch, like, the replay or whatever whenever I get around to it. Kai and friends, good morning, Doug. Good morning, Kai. A. Thompson, Stealth Chaos dresses like Secret Squirrel, but in black. Huh. So he has the hat and the trench coat, raincoat, whatever you call it, but it's black. A. Thompson, Stealth Chaos runs around saving Japanese strippers in Tokyo. Well, God bless, someone has to. A. Thompson, but the strippers need to pay for the service. Well, you want to live, don't you? A. Thompson says, really pay. Oh, it's like that, is it? Well, favor for a favor. A. Thompson, Doug, have you tried to get a USAID contract to draw LGBTQ AT? Is that what it is now? Plus divided by minus. And you forgot to say sometimes why. Superheroes for children in Bhutan. No, I missed that gig. And I hear the money's all dried up now. I'm trying to get a USAID contract to sponsor me hiring a queer welder and getting him the chopping dicks off of me procedure. Yeah. Well, you should have tried that last year. I'm afraid this year they're a little short on cash. A. Thompson, Doug, can I guess get a USAID contract to draw homosexual raccoons and squirrels in Louisiana? Again, the money is gone. So the answer to all of these questions is no. I mean, what? Would I have to claim that I actually did the research? Well, I hung out in parks and wooded areas and waited for squirrels that were gay to get it on. And I caught it on my phone. Look at all this footage. And, I'm going to do some drawings of this activity and make a coffee book out of it. Stealth Chaos, my spidey senses are tingling. Yeah, that's like the old saying, are your ears burning? Because someone's talking about you. Stealth Chaos, what a thupa drawing. Oh, yes. Super drawing. I forgot to do that, yeah. Well, I kept saying the title of their series was Mr. and Mrs. Superman. But, of course, I should have said it, Mr. and Mrs. Superman. Yeah. But I didn't. Hey, Thompson, hey, Thompson, speak his name, and he shall appear. Well, yeah, as simple as that. What happens when you say it 3 times? Hey, Thompson at Stealth Chaos. What is going on in the Dabbleverse today? Well, same old thing, you know. I woke up and KB was on. I free chatted, this MLC is getting worse every day. He ended the show and came back for a few hours later, members only. And even the members were talking trash. Well, these things happen when, you know. Hey, Thompson, this drawing stream is really better than MLC at this point. Yeah, that's how far he's fallen. Don't get a big head, Doug. Don't worry. Highly unlikely. That isn't saying much. LOL. Yeah, exactly. Stealth Chaos. Doug is a great guy. Perhaps even a super guy. Well, no. Stealth Chaos in this chat really kicks off sometimes. It's awful quiet today. Doug is still, sadly, unappreciated. Yeah, well, that's my lot in life, you know. It happens. Besides, it seems to do better. You know, later in the night rather than in early morning hours. This is like people should be going to work, I guess. Maybe that's what it is. You know, sure, there's all kinds of excuses. It can't be that I'm just not that interesting. No. A. Thompson at Stealth Chaos. We cannot confirm that. Allegedly, Doug K. Cows. A. Thompson, Doug tips cows competitively. That's not true. Stealth Chaos. A. Thompson, do you have a Twitter account, my guy, filled with pictures of cars and fatty Gillespie nudes? Good Lord. A. Thompson, what's that about? Yeah. She's got to get a vehicle. But then again, what's the rush? I mean, sooner or later, is she ever going to make that trek across the desert with all that cacti? You know, that's her kryptonite. Hey, Thompson, I do not have a Twitter, nor do I want one. Oh, you're going to be like that, are you? Well, it's too late. There is no Twitter. There is only X. There went all the air. Stealth Chaos, Daddy Doug draws delightfully. Well, I try, you know. Stealth Chaos at A. Thompson, I wish you did because it's a shit show on there. Well, when wasn't it a shit show? You know, I mean, that's social media. You know, what are you going to do? Stealth Chaos, are these two in the drawing going to make a fupa baby? Yeah, I think I don't think they ever did. You know, I mean, look, he's an alien from another planet. Plus, that whole thing, you know, I mean, it's true. You're going to say it's Kevin Smith and all that, but I mean, how is this physically possible? I mean, when he gets going, I mean, that's the end of her pelvis. You know, it'll be dust. She'll be in a wheelchair after that. It might be the greatest bang of her life, sure, and one would hope for all that. But good Lord. And that's if she survives it. See, the only way would be to somehow give her superpowers, you know, just for the moment, and then it kind of fades later. Or he has to depower himself. I mean, I guess a red sun lamp, and they do it. I don't know how long that would take for him to, you know, be gentle enough. And but then think of, you know, her. She's like, but I wanted to do it with Superman. Now I'm just doing it with Clark. See, and the relationship falls apart, you know, and he's like, then Wonder Woman comes along, you know, and that one, Superman can just let loose, you know, because she can take it. So what do you think is going to happen? It's going to end up with Wonder Woman. And maybe she will have his baby. Man, that would be one tough kid, you know. Stealth Chaos, A. Thompson, MLC chat is basically Karmic and KB washing each other's balls. Good Lord. Karmic. I had no idea. A. Thompson, how did we miss this USAID money? Actually, not to dox myself too much, there was a USAID contract at my kid's school to run a hackathon where the high school kids were given smart appliances and they learned how to become hackers. Is that what they did? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. I guess we missed out. Saint Ranger. Hi, A Doug. Well, I'm not just A Doug. I'm the Doug. Yeah. But anyway, thanks for showing up, Saint Ranger. Mostly just seeing if I can make EV Mux work, and it seems to be for now. Later tonight, it probably won't. For the most part, I think I'll stick to just using Rumble Studio for my streams. But you know, I mean, if this thing works and it lets the audio. That last time when it cut out the audio, boy, was I raging mad. Oh man, because I did a lot of work on it and stuff, and then I came back and everybody in the chat, because a lot of times I can't see the screen if I'm drawing or if I'm reading articles or whatever, and come back, no audio, can't hear you, nothing, no audio. It's such a lovely sight, So anyway, never did figure out what that was, and I did the same thing then. I tried it in Chrome, Yeah, it wouldn't work then either. So you just never know. But isn't that true about life in general? You never know. Yeah. Anyway, USAID is basically a Democrat money laundering funneling operation, right? Yes, pretty much. Stealth Chaos, from what I can see anyway, yeah. I mean, there's probably some legitimate works done here and there, I guess, but with all that money flowing around, they're like, oh, you expect me to just ignore that? You bring red meat into the lion's den. Well, don't be surprised when it gets all bloody and splattery. Or in this case, all the money disappears. And the starving kids they were supposed to help are still starving. Anyway, hey, Thompson, the contest was to hack into the appliances and activate all features of the boards. Some of them use generic boards with mics. So I wonder who really sponsored that program. Oh, boy. No doubt. Stealth Chaos, hi, Pam and Mr. Pam. St. Ranger typo. I'm howdy, Doug. Well, yeah, I gathered. I'm a smartass. A. Thompson, LOL, Karmic loves KB. Doug's next drawing will be Karmic under KB's desk. Oh my God. Stealth Chaos, Doug, I just put a picture of myself DJing at a fetish party. DJing, sorry. DJing? DJing at a fetish party and not and not getting laid. Boy, wouldn't that be something? You're the DJ. All this crap's going. Of course, I don't know. Fetish parties. Do you really imagine what you'll catch? Just doing the DJ. I mean, you don't even get any, and you still next morning you're pissing razor blades just because you were standing there breathing in that ambiance. Stealth Chaos at A. Thompson, too hot for Twitter. Well, yeah, it is. I mean, there's a lot of raunchy stuff on there. Anyway, A. Thompson at Stealth Chaos, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook are all sewers, especially LinkedIn. I closed that 3 days after opening it in 2008. I didn't know they had fetish porn on LinkedIn. Stealth Chaos said, Saint Ranger, technically you are correct because there is only a Doug. No, I'm the only one. The rest are imposters. Hey, Thompson, and I still get spam about reopening that fucking LinkedIn. Yeah, that's forever. Oh, yeah. Hey, Thompson, I am using X as a way to flex my taste in music and movies. Unfortunately, there's a very limited amount of media for me to pull on compared to YouTube, etc. Yeah, you'd think, they'd do something about that. I don't know. He found something else to, Musk found something else to play with. He just can't, his attention span on his hobbies, it's short lived. Anyway, hey, Thompson, LinkedIn makes me sad. Work makes me sad. Boy, ain't that the truth, huh? I got to admit, always feel depressed after a long day's work. You're supposed to feel like accomplishment and stuff like that. Yeah. Hey, Thompson, YouTube is enough for me. Thanks to fucking Dixon, I now have Rumble annoying the piss out of me with about 40 emails per day. 40 emails? I hardly get any emails from Rumble. And I got a Rumble channel. And I use their Rumble studio. Somebody at Rumble just wants to piss you off. Sounds like mission accomplished. St. Ranger, can you pull up the cover art from Jimmy Elson number 99? I'd like to see draw it or generate a line drawing version and color it. Just curious. Well, yeah, I could look for it. I don't know. I want to do that in Chrome. I really don't like Chrome. Jimmy Elson number 99. Jimmy Elson number 99. See, it's like the song Love Potion. So I sang it. All right. And of course, apologies for banging the keyboard. Geez, that's not a good copy. Is there a better one? I guess not. That means I'll have to bang the... What the hell is he wearing? Yeah, all right, that's what I'll have to do. Cover your ears. Okay. Now, share screen, window, blop. Ahead. So let's see, we'll put that in there. There it is. So Jimmy Elson, number 99. You asked for it, so here it is. Jimmy in solo action against an army of super weapons. When he becomes the one-man legion. Sunboy. Olsen turns on the heat. Element Lad. Olsen changes missiles into mist. Lightning Lad. Olsen electrifies he electrifies the tank. So these Legion of Superheroes character, he gets to get their powers because he's one man legion. In Superman's bow, Jimmy Elson. Boy, that looks complicated, St. Ranger. I'll have to file that for later and take that under advisement. Where's the... Here it is. Boop. For right now, it's all about Superman and Lois, But yeah, I can draw that. There was one... Did I ever do the one where it was like Superman and Batman meeting and Lois is on the rooftop? And I think I did. He was like, this is a job for Superman. And then Batman says, no, it's a job for Batman. Anyway, that's when they went on that cruise together in the same room. Yeah. Well, Stealth Chaos, hey, Thompson, somehow Rumble still seems to be unable to show me a Pat Dixon Doug stream when it's actually happening. you can't see the streams at all? Well, that's weird. I mean, I can even when I'm on it. I can go, to the other window and look in there, and there it is, and all that stuff. Oh well, I don't know. A lot of people have trouble with Rumble, and I don't. When I do, it's like, and then the news comes out, well, it got attacked and all that sort of stuff. But just, regular stuff. Then there was that weird period with Rumble Studio where I don't know, it just didn't work at all. Uh, uh, it was some sort of weird thing where it was conflicting with the firewall, and I did go in there to say no, this is an acceptable site or whatever. You got to go through the fine print to get crap. Now I'm forgetting what it was. Oh yeah, it was in the warning, so I had to go and painstakingly copy that. Couldn't just copy it the usual way, select it and all that. No, I had to write it down and then punch that in, and then it was like, oh, so then ever since then, Rumble Studio works. That's nice. So anyway, Stealth Chaos. Oh, I know all about that. 24 hours from now, I'll get dozen emails about this very stream about to start. This one? Well, I'm on YouTube, X, and Rumble. And Rumble, boy, the thing about Rumble is you got to go through and get its address and what's the stream key and all that. Whereas YouTube, because it's YouTube, it just goes there. Weird. Stealth Chaos at A Thompson says hi, Pam. A Thompson, hey Doug, there may be a valid reason for USAID now. I heard the frogs are gay in central Louisiana. You need to draw those gay frogs at a discoteca? No, I don't think so. Nodak, hit the like button. Oh, that's true. Always do that. Thanks for reminding us, Nodak. Hey, Thompson, Doug should definitely turn Stealth Chaos into a superhero. Stealth Chaos says, villain, surely. Hey, Thompson, send Stealth Chaos the link and let's get this going 24 hours. I can't. I have responsibilities. Stealth Chaos at any time. The Piddler. Stealth Chaos. The Diddler. Oh, you see, I knew that was going to happen. Oh, no. Wholly inappropriate, Batman. Yes, Robin. It's our old arch enemy. The Diddler. Stealth Chaos, etc. Yes, Robin, it's our old arch enemy, etc. Hey, Thompson, I'm just the driver. I like the short movie Death Proof. It starts off okay, and then it really kind of fizzles, at least oh, damn it, the zombie one. It was hilarious and weird and stuff. Crap. Planet Terror? Was that it? Yeah, I got it somewhere. Now I'm gonna have to go dig through all those damn DVDs and Blu-rays. I don't know. Hey, so when the guy crashes into the girl and knocks her, well, yeah, that was right at the beginning because she was just sort of having her leg hang out of the car, and then he smashed right into it, and off the leg went. Yeah. And then, of course, the sheriff talking about, man, why would someone do this? And he was probably this is the only way he can shoot his goo. And of course, it was probably what it was. Yeah. Saint Ranger, so cool. One of my favorites. Jimmy Olsen becoming a one-man legion. They were legion, for they were many. Stealth Chaos at A. Thompson. Hell yeah, Kurt. Stealth Chaos at A. Thompson. Vanishing Point. Yeah, I didn't see the original. I saw the, or no, maybe that was Vantage. I forget. Oh, well, never mind. Saint Ranger, I thought it was cool you displayed it. You don't have to draw it. Thank you. I dug that. Holy bad puns, Batman. I might draw it. I don't know. I mean, you know how things go. Stealth Chaos at Daddy Doug. When I go on the front live page, they will not show me anything. I am following, even when it's live. X always does. All right. St. Ranger, I thought Jimmy Olsen 99 was cool looking when it first went on sale. I have my original copy somewhere in a box with my other DC comics. Wow. Stealth Chaos. Mark Hamill can play the Diddler. Yeah, well, that's, you think he's been to any of those parties? Maybe, probably not the Diddy parties. I don't know. He went right off the deep end recently. Yeah, he's a sad man, and it's all really terrible. But what are you going to do? Stealth Chaos Bullet. Yeah, I need to watch that. It's been so damn long. I mean, I was a kid when I watched it. And, it's one of the great classics and all that. All right. There we go. I will call that end of the... Oh, here comes Stealth Chaos again. Mark Hamill was too uncool to get invited to a Diddy party. Well, that will work out in the end, I would think, because, plausible deniability and all that good stuff. Are you kidding? I'm not cool. Yeah, you're right. You're not. So anyway, there we go. That brings this to an end. What a test. I guess I passed. We'll see how that goes later on tonight. I don't know. Hopefully this is the path that works. Yes. St. Ranger, I saw Vanishing Point with classmates opening weekend. I think it was summer 1969 because we smoked pot in the upper balcony. What? They allowed that then? St. Ranger also Bullet opening Friday night. Wow. Well, geez. In the movie theater. Yeah. All right, there we go. That's the dealio of, Superman and Lois. They're doing great. The Diddler, thank God, never showed up. And that's just got to be a way to show the chat on the thing. I just haven't figured it out because I hardly ever use this. And that's embarrassing. But I'll probably stick with what I know, But I did have to find out. And I'm still not convinced because it didn't work last time. So I don't know. I can't promise anything, but hopefully it'll work, for later. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this little art session. And I'll chat with you again sometime in the future.